Once the Dragon spacecraft is done and it's at waypoint 1, which again just about 150 meters away from the space station, we're going to get some great views back from station of Dragon. Still getting some pretty cool views from that camera on the center line. It's getting close. Should be just about 2 minutes away.
In the corridor, orientation as expected.
Copy all.
All right, another good call down. We're about 50 meters away so far, so only 30 meters to go, and then we're at waypoint 2.
Once we're given the go-ahead to approach from waypoint 2, the next big calls we're going to be looking out for are that soft capture contact and then hard capture. You can start to see the space station in great detail here. Again, this is from a view of the forward media cam at the top of the Dragon 2 module. Just to reiterate, this camera is not directly on the center line of the docking axis. This is a fantastic view of Dragon in the sunlight from the International Space Station. So normally when we're getting views from the Dragon for this webcast, you're going to be seeing a camera that's not quite on the center line, so it's a little bit off. And it may not look like we're heading directly towards the docking adapter, but if we're lucky enough, we might get some views from the centerline camera in the very center of the hatch from the space station, and you can see us kind of headed on right in. But right now, this is an unbelievable view from the space station. You can see Dragon 2 in full light with its nose cone open. Its soft capture ring deployed. You can actually start to see those 3 petals that I was talking about earlier on that ring, 120 degrees apart. That ring is extended above the hatch by 6 hexapod arms that are all attached to Dragon by springs. So that will be the first part of Dragon to make contact with the ISS. And when it does, those springs will compress and absorb and dampen any of the relative velocity differences between the space station and Dragon. So the light you're seeing is both light from the International Space Station pointed at Dragon, and then the docking light, which is the bright spot in the center of Dragon's hatch you can see right now. Right now, Dragon's flight computer is using those Draco thrusters, as you can see them firing on your screen to
Station Houston and 1, Dragon is resuming approach and is go for docking. Monitor per steps 9 and 10 in 1.102. Dragon approach and retreat monitoring.
Station copies. Vehicle mode is approach to docking port. Primary range is decreasing. Vehicle is centered.
Copy all.
And getting good reports from Ann McLean there on board the International Space Station. Dragon is approaching, everything in on the center, and still looking good. So the crew is using that centerline camera on the Dragon spacecraft just to do all of their final monitoring of the vehicle. This camera a little off center. This is not the one the crew's using, but this is one that we have. But you can see now that international docking adapter. It's attached to a larger black piece of the station. That's a pressurized mating adapter, which is then attached to actually one of the modules, which is known as Node 2 in the Harmony. It's the Harmony module. So Dragon continuing to close in. It's expected to take just about 5 minutes or so, and there's a great side-by-side look. One view on your left from Dragon, one view on your right from the International Space Station.
On the view on the left from Dragon looking at the space station, we can finally see those details of the international docking adapter. The IDA is a passive system, and the Dragon contains all the active components of that docking system. You can actually see those androgynous petals, those 3 petals that are kind of sticking at 120 degrees apart from each other on the IDA on the left-hand side. In the very middle is actually a visual docking target that the astronauts can use to judge whether or not the Dragon is right on course. It has a little stick that comes off from the center of it, so you can see the stick's shadow and determine whether or not you're directly on center in all 3 axes. Like Dan said, this camera view on the left from Dragon is not the centerline camera. It's actually the forward media cam.
Range is 9.5 and decreasing. Vehicle is centered. Largest excursion observed is less than half a meter. Less than half a degree.
Copy.
All right, we're inside 10 meters, halfway there.
Like I was saying, this camera view right here is just a little bit off center from the center line, so it may look like we're not approaching that IDA directly head on, just because the camera's not in the right position, but the crew has that center line camera, which is directly dead on, and as long as we keep hearing these good callouts, it sounds like Dragon is dead right where it needs to be. And there it is, there's that center line camera view that the crew in the International Space Station is using. They use the overlays to figure out, and that visual docking guide right there to make sure that Dragon is exactly where it needs to be as it approaches. On the right-hand side, you can start to see the mechanisms of the SpaceX docking system aboard the Dragon. The very first part of Dragon that will make contact with the ISS is that soft capture ring. You can see it's extended forward from the hatch of the Dragon right now. As soon as those pedals make contact, latching pawls will engage and hold the pedals against the opposite ones on the IDA, and contact pins will depress, and we should hear the call out for soft capture achieved.
Crew hands off point.
Copy.
All right, so we're at that crew hands-off point. That means we're about 2 meters away. Crew no longer sending commands. Dragon doing everything on its own.
Soft capture confirmed.
Station concurs.
You can hear the cheers behind us at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. We have confirmation of a soft capture of the Dragon spacecraft to the International Space Station. You can see in your view the Dragon still moving around a little bit. That's the soft capture ring is attached to Dragon by way of 6 arms that are all attached to springs that help dampen the motion, the difference in the relative velocities between the Dragon and the space station. This is unbelievable news for everyone here at SpaceX and at NASA.
Yeah, that capture, that docking coming at 2:51 a.m. Pacific, 5:51 a.m. over on the East Coast. As the International Space Station and Dragon were flying just about 260 statute miles over planet Earth, just north of New Zealand. So
Ring
Dragon
retraction in
now
progress.
docked. Well,
we're not quite there yet.
not quite there yet.
We've achieved soft capture, which is what the call out you heard. So the next step is going to be hard capture. Hard capture is achieved via 12 latching hooks that are all around the inside of the Dragon hatch. And they'll actuate and grab onto hooks on the other side and pull and hold the Dragon tight against the ISS.
That's right. This whole process expected to take about 15 minutes. So first that soft capture ring is going to retract, and then the hard capture sequence can begin its process. That'll take about 12 minutes. And then there are 2 umbilicals that will actually get mated to the Dragon spacecraft from the station, and that is to provide power and data to the spacecraft and transfer that over to the station. And at that point, it will be fully attached and ready to stay for the next 5 days. So again, that capture coming at 2:51 a.m. Pacific time, 5:51 a.m. over on the East Coast, as the Dragon and station were flying just north of New Zealand. So there we go.
And you can imagine
Successful.
this, yeah, I mean, this is unbelievable for everyone here that's worked so hard on Dragon and with NASA. You can imagine that soft capture retraction, sort of like Dragon doing a pull-up and bringing itself closer to the station to get those hard capture hooks ready to go. Like I said, this is going to take just a few minutes, so the whole process takes about 15 minutes to get the soft capture ring retracted, the hard capture hooks engaged, and then those umbilicals mated. So we still got a little bit more ways to go here. Dragon is attached, and we're all very excited about that, but lots more to come.
Yeah, we're gonna hang out until that hard capture and everything is complete, and then after that, the action's not over. Then it's on to hatch opening. So it'll take about 2 hours after all of this is complete for the hatches to be open. At least that's what we're tracking on the timeline right now. In that space of time, they have to pressurize what's known as the vestibule. So that's actually the area both Dragon and the space station that are normally exposed to the vacuum of space. That is now going to form a tight seal, and so they have to pressurize that. The crew will actually open up a seal manually and insert air from the station into that vestibule, and then they have to do a series of leak checks, obviously just to make sure that everything is good before they move to opening the hatches. And there's a hatch on the pressurized mating adapter side, and there's also a hatch on the Dragon itself. And so that'll be coming up a little bit later, and then we'll actually see crew members go inside of Crew Dragon in space for the very first time.
They can meet Ripley as soon as they get inside there.
That's right. And there is one passenger already on board the Dragon spacecraft now, attached to the International Space Station.
2 if you count the zero-G indicator.
That's right.
That's flying along with Ripley there. But so for those of you just joining us, we did have a successful soft capture. Like we've been saying, it's going to take just a little bit longer with a lot more action coming up. So stay with us as we head towards eventual hard capture and then hatch opening.